Hello and welcome to Admiral of the Navy. I am Jacko, and today we'll be taking a look at the basics of building a superstructure for your ships. So for this, I've prepared a hull for one of my new battleships here, and I've already started to do the first step. So let's get started. So the first step usually is to decide, of course, which main guns you want. Then think about where, or at least in which general position you want your main guns to be. I've decided I want 3 of these main guns, and I've already played around a bit to figure out the general position in which I want them. That's the position they are in right now. This is important so that you know how much space you have for your superstructure in between your main guns. So now when you've decided where you want your guns to be, you can start by adding barbettes if needed. In my case, I have 3 guns, so for this back one I won't need a barbette, but for this B turret I will. So I've already prepared the barbette here for the gun. Dang it, NavalArt. Okie dokie, NavalArt is refusing to work, fine. So I will have to do a barbette myself. That's most easily done by using the adjustable hull, placing them on its front or back side, and then using top and bottom roundness to make this little circle, and then just adjust the height of your barbette with the length slider, and then use width and height to adjust the size. There we go, so I think this should be about right. Now let's just adjust the positions. This is at 45, so this will have to be 45 as well, and there we go. That's it. So now you can adjust this a bit further. I'm going to move this forward 1 meter. There we go. Good. Just paint this real quick. There we go. So that's basically the first step of building the superstructure done, because now I have outlined the space that I have for my superstructure, and that's basically starting with about the middle of the barbette here, and it's going to end somewhere before this aft turret. So, next step is very important. So first of all, you'll have to get yourself a picture of generally how you want your superstructure to look like. Many different factions in history, and by faction I mean nations mostly, have different types of superstructure with very specific looks to them. So you'll have to decide which general looks and shapes you want to go with. Or of course you can always just build away freely, but for starters I would strongly suggest getting yourself a picture of some ship that you at least want to build off of very generally, and then using that for reference for building the general outlines of your superstructure. So in my case, this is supposed to be a German battleship, so I've gotten myself some pictures real quick. Okay, now I can start by doing the general superstructure. So let's start right away. So as I do it, I tend to, in the beginning, use just the basic blocks and not even start scaling, and just place down some parts just to outline the general area in which I want the superstructure to be. I also tend to use a large grid scale, because this makes it easier to place the block. And for now, it doesn't have to be, or basically what I'm doing now is not going to be permanent at all. This is really just outlining the general shapes that I want to have. So let's just do this. Something like this maybe. So let's see. You can do this freely, and again, you can, if you have a very specific plan on how you build, you can also start with the third step. But again, for beginners, I advise doing this. Just place down some blocks and just try to generally imagine the shape that you're going with. So for example, I want a bit of a wedge in front here, so that's why I've placed these blocks. that I can later slope properly. Then I have this little hole here in Superstructure where I want to have a secondary gun. And then over here I have this extension where I want to have even more secondary guns on top. Now let's see about the back a bit as well. So let's outline how we want this to look. So let's go like this maybe. This is really down to you how you want this to look. Feel free to really experiment around a lot here, because this is just the general outline anyway. So let's see how we want to do this. Just in this case, I'm just going to zoom out to just get a general overview. So for example, I'd like this extension to be kind of in the middle, but as you can see right now, it's a bit too far front. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this stuff real quick. And now I can just, there we go like this. There we go, and now it's more in the middle. Yep, I like that. Good. So now let's continue. Then I want another secondary gun here. There we go. There we go. I think this is a good general shape that I want to go with. Good. So, and now when you've decided on the general shape that you want your at least lower level of the superstructure to be like, now you can start actually filling in this space. So let me mirror this real quick so that I can make this easier for myself. And I will be deleting a lot of these blocks later on. These are really just for reference right now, so I can fill in all these spaces. So let's start first of all. Okay, So let's first adjust the width here. Bam, bam. Gonna leave that space out, seeing how I want the slope to be there later on. There we go. Now I can just draw this out like that. Okay, maybe do that. Won't be needing this block anymore, and now I can start making a kind of wedge here. There we go. Mirror that. Yes, and that looks pretty good. Extend that to fill. And don't worry about these overlaps. Once you paint them, they won't actually be visible, so you can easily do these overlaps without any problems later on. So now I'm going to fill in these little extra spaces as well. Let's see, we can delete these blocks and fill those parts. For this superstructure, I advise trying to use these scale blocks as much as possible. Seeing how if you build this with single blocks, you're going to have a very high parts count pretty fast. Also, it does make life easier using these big blocks with armor or changing armor or paint later on, because you won't have to be painting so many individual blocks, of course. So I'm going to replace a lot of these with, well, as few blocks as possible. There we go. Okay, we'll just fill this in for now. And remember, you can always change this stuff later on. So don't worry if it's not perfect in the beginning. You can always change it later on. Yeah, so let's fill this in. Let's do that. And come on, there and there. Good. There you go. So now we have the basic first layer of superstructure down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this real quick. I tend to use a bit of a darker grey than the vanilla one for basically all of my base hull blocks. but that's just a personal preference. Of course, this is not a must. Good. Also, don't worry about armor yet. You can do all that later on. Good. So now that the first layer is down, you can start by adding secondary guns to see if you've left enough space and all. So in my case, I'm gonna search for the secondary gun that I want. There we are. And change the grid size. There we go. I'm gonna start placing down these secondaries just to get a general feel of how much space I have. It's looking good height-wise, and also these little holes in Superstructure are big enough indeed. Good, good. What's that? Come on, where are they? So for those of you who play warships, you might recognize the secondary pattern I'm trying to build. This is based off of the Grocer Curve first from Wall of Warships, of course. God darn it, where are they? There it is. Good. So let's see, I'm just generally placing these somewhere. Again, this is not final by any means, and this is more just for reference, so I know how much space I have left for the second layer of Superstructure. There we go. Just paint these real quick. There we go. So it looks all nice. I never trust autosave, don't forget that. Good. So now for most modern ships usually have this one layer, and then now we would be starting already with having the two main towers, those usually being the bridge part, and then usually there's a smaller aft tower, though that of course depends again on the nation and also the year or general era of the ship that you're building. So again, go get some pictures of just get a general idea of how you want to build your ship, and then base it off that. There's no way for me to actually make a tutorial which is going to explain how to do every single kind of bridge or rigging or tower. So that's why I just want to generally show you guys how to make this superstructure, or at least the basis of it. So then, now we're going to start building the tower. I'm just going to do this real quick, because again, different nations have different towers, and there's no point in me showing you how to build towers of every nation. That would just take an enormous amount of time, and to be honest, wouldn't particularly help most of you. So let's see, for this, again, I'm building a German ship, so I want a kind of German tower. So again, here I'm just outlining the general shape that I want. Let's see here. Need something like that, that. There we go. Good. Now that I have this base shape down for my front tower, we do the same that we did with this lower level. I'm going to start to fill it in. In this case, I'm also going to actually start raising this up, because I want this tower to be higher. So there we go. I can do this, and then delete this, extend this one, again to save parts. I really should mirror that yet. Okay, there we go. This, and like that. No. Okay, so do it like, no, wrong one. Okay. There we go. So that's that, and now let's fill in these holes real quick as well. There we go, bam. Now let's paint this again. This is personal preference, my part. There you go, and now you can already see that you're starting to see this kind of bridge structure here. Now of course you can do the very same on the aft end of the ship. So in my case, I'm going to be building a little rangefinder station here. There we go. So in this case I can actually just do this. There we go, that's that. And then let's fill this space in. There we go. So now of course you can continue by building up this superstructure even further, start to build towers, and again I strongly advise using the system that I've shown with outlining the general shape and then actually adjusting it to your needs and filling in spaces. That way you have, well, basically when you have to adjust things, it doesn't cost you as much work, and of course you can, well, it's way easier to adjust things. Also you can get a feel for how it's gonna look a lot earlier in the building process, so that's useful. So I think I'm gonna call the video here. Again, this was meant to just show you the basics of superstructure. I will be doing a video on actually the more detailed parts of making the superstructure, how to actually shape the bridge parts or the little anti-air emplacements that you have on your main towers or in the ship in general. That's all going to be in a separate video, but for this I really just wanted to show you how to approach building the general superstructure of your ship. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to message me on the official Discord. My nickname is Lord Admiral Jacko. Feel free to just ping me or DM me. Of course, always feel free to leave a comment on this video. And if this was helpful and you liked it, please consider to like and subscribe. It helps me out, and it also shows me that these videos are truly something that you guys want more of, and of course I will be trying to then make more of these videos. So, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.